Matthew chapter 13. The same day, Jesus left the house and sat by the Sea of Galilee. Large crowds gathered around him, so he got into a boat and sat down, while the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things using stories. He said, "A farmer went out to plant his seed. He scattered the seed on the ground. Some fell on a path. Birds came and ate it up. Some seed fell on rocky places where there wasn't much soil. The plants came up quickly because the soil wasn't there. When the sun came up, it burned the plants. They dried up because they had no roots. Other seed fell among thorns. The thorns grew up and crowded out the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil. It produced a crop 160 or 30 times more than what was planted. Whoever has ears should listen." The disciples came to him. They asked, "Why do you use stories when you speak to the people?" He replied, "Because you have been given the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. It has not been given to outsiders. Everyone who has this kind of knowledge will be given more knowledge. In fact, they will have very much. If anyone doesn't have this kind of knowledge, even what little they have will be taken away from them. Here is why I use stories when I speak to the people. I say, they look, but they don't really see. They listen, but they don't really hear or understand. In them, the words of the prophet Isaiah come true. He said, 'You will hear, but never understand. You will see, but never know what you are singing.' The hearts of these people have become stubborn. They can barely hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes. They might hear with their ears. They might understand with their hearts. They might turn to the Lord, and then He would hear them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and blessed are your ears because they hear. What I want to tell you is true. Many prophets and godly people wanted to see what you see, but they didn't see it. They wanted to hear what you hear, but they didn't hear it. Listen, here is the meaning of the story of the farmer. People hear the message about the kingdom but do not understand it. Then the evil one comes. He steals what was planted in their hearts. Those people are like the seed planted on a path. The seed that fell on rocky places is like other people. They hear the message and at once receive it with joy, but they have no roots. So they last only a short time. They quickly fall away from the faith when trouble or suffering comes because of the message. The seed that fell among the thorns is like others who hear the message. But then the worries of this life and the false promises of wealth crowded out. They keep the message from producing fruit. But the seed that fell on soil, good soil, is like those who hear the message and understand it. They produce a crop 160 or 30 times more than the farmer planted. Jesus told the crowd another story. Here is what the kingdom of heaven is like. He said, "A man planted good seed in his field, but while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came. The enemy planted weeds among the wheat and then went away. The wheat began to grow and form grain. At the same time, weeds appeared. The owner's slaves came to him. They said, 'Sir, didn't you plant good seed in your field? Then where did the weeds come from?' 'An enemy did this,' he replied. The slaves asked him, 'Do you want us to go and pull up the weeds?' 'No,' the owner answered. 'While you are pulling up the weeds, you might pull up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the workers what to do. Here is what I will say to them. First, collect the weeds, tie them in bundles to be burned, and then gather the wheat, bring it into my storeroom." Jesus told the crowd another story. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. Someone took a seed and planted it in a field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it grows, it is the largest of all garden plants. It becomes a tree. Birds come and rest in its branches." Jesus told them still another story. "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast." He said, "A woman mixed it into 60 pounds of flour. The yeast worked its way or through the dough." Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd using stories. He did not say anything to them without telling a story. So the words spoken by the prophet came true. He had said, "I will open my mouth and tell stories. I will speak about things that were hidden since the world was made." Then Jesus left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him. They said, "Explain to us the story of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who planted the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the word. The good seed stands for the people who belong to the kingdom. The weeds are the people who belong to the evil one. The enemy who planted them is the devil. The harvest is judgment day, and the workers are angels. The weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire. That is how it will be on a judgment day. The Son of Man will send out his angels. They will weed out of his kingdom everything that causes sin. They will also get rid of all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace. Their people will weep and grind their teeth. Then God's people will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. Whoever has ears should listen. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure that was hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. He was very happy, so he went and sold everything he had, and he bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a trader who was looking for a fine purse. He found one that was very valuable, so he went away and sold everything he had, and he bought that pearl. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net. It was let down into a lake. It caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up on the shore. Then they sat down and gathered the good fish into baskets, but they threw the bad fish away. This is how it will be on a judgment day. The angel will come that will separate the people who did what is wrong from those who did what is right. It will throw the evil people into the blazing furnace. There, the evil ones will weep and grind their teeth. Do you understand all these things? Jesus asked. Yes, they replied. He said to them, every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house. He brings new treasures out of his storeroom as well as old ones. Jesus finished telling these stories. Then he moved on from there. He came to his hometown of Nazareth. There he began teaching, and the people in their synagogue, they were amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom? Where did he get this power to do miracles? They asked. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? Aren't his brother James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Are our sisters with us? Then where did this man get all these things? They were not pleased with him at all. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own town and in his own home. He did only a few miracles in Nazareth because the people there had no faith. Matthew chapter 14. At that time, Herod, the ruler of Galilee and Perea, heard a report about Jesus. He said to his attendants, this is John the Baptist. He has risen from the dead. That is why he has the power to do miracles. Herod had arrested John. He had tied him up and put him in prison because of it. Herodias, she was the wife of Herod's brother Philip. John had been saying to Herod, it is against the law for you to have her as your wife. Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of the people because they brought John was the prophet. On Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced for Herod and his guests. She pleased Herod very much, so he promised to give her anything she asked for. Her mother told her what to say, so the girl said to Herod, give me the head of the John the Baptist on a big plate. The king was very upset, but he thought of his promise and his dinner guest, so he told one of his men to give her what she asked for. Herod had John's head cut off in the prison. His head was brought in on a big plate and given to the girl. She then carried it to her mother. John's disciples came and took his body and buried it. And then they went and told Jesus. Jesus heard what had happened to John. He wanted to be alone, so he went in a boat to a quiet place. The crowds heard about this. They followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus came ashore, he saw a large crowd. He felt deep concern for them. He healed their sick people. When it was almost evening, the disciples came to him. There is nothing here, they said. It is already getting late. Send the crowds away. They can go and buy some food in the village. Jesus replied, they don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. They answered, bring them here to me, he said. And Jesus directed the people to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves, the 2 fish. He looked up to heaven and gave thanks. He broke the loaves into pieces. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. All of them ate and were satisfied. The disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftover pieces. The number of men who ate was about 5,000. Women and children also ate. Right away, Jesus made the disciples get into a boat. He had them go on ahead of him to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, and he sent the crowd away. After he had sent them away, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. The boat was already a long way from land. It was being pounded by the waves because the wind was blowing against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to the disciples. He walked on the lake. They saw him walking on the lake and were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Right away, Jesus called out to them, "Be brave. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, is it you?" Peter asked. "If it is, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. So Peter got out of the boat. He walked on the water toward Jesus. When Peter saw the wind, he was afraid. He began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Right away, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "Your faith is so small," he said. "Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed into a boat, the wind died down. Then those in the boat worshiped Jesus. They said, "You really are the Son of God." They crossed over the lake and landed at Gennesaret. The men who lived there recognized Jesus, so they sent a message all over the nearby countryside. People brought all those who were sick to Jesus. They begged him to let those who were sick just touch the edge of his clothes, and all who touched his clothes were healed.